Lara. I'm the worst when when it comes to names. I am absolutely. Has it started yet? Let's see. Say it again.
Lara?
Lara. That's what I thought. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me tag.
The light codes by Lara.
Yep. That's what I'm tagging. Boom. 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 There it is. All right. We're good. And I believe. Let me double check. But I believe we are officially back on YouTube with this show, so there are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. Let me double
That's
check.
awesome.
Yeah, I know. It is awesome. Considering we got pulled off for, I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah, I know. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're good. All
I
right.
have a lot of feedback. Oh, okay. I was just resharing, so we had some feedback.
So, yeah, so we've got our friends back from YouTube. We've been on a hiatus. YouTube decided we needed to take a vacation, but we're back, and thank you, YouTube and Facebook, and we'll just try to be cool, but we didn't really
That's
do
so.
anything. So we have our friend back, Jackie Herod, and Lara, um, and I know we welcome back. First of all,
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
it's a pleasure to have you. Well, I remember when we did the first show, we had a string of just amazing shows with particularly women, and there was something going on. There was a shift. And I want to say it was going into that 1122 corridor. But to me, it feels very much the same. So the fact that you came back on today, and it just worked out that it's the first day we're back on YouTube, and we seem to be in a similar type of flow. Something feels extremely imminent, and it feels good, but it also feels a little scary. I don't know if that rings any resonance with you, but we might start there.
Sure. Well, I've been feeling with is the Lunar New Year, and with that, I've found there have been just so many opportunities coming up in my own life, anyways, where a lot's coming to surface, and it's such a potent time to, of course, with the new moon, to look within, and then it's a new year, so it's a perfect time to set those good intentions. So I'm finding that there's lots coming up, um, especially in the short term. In this next, say, month to 6 weeks, I have quite a busy schedule, and I'm going to be tested a lot. And so I'm excited and nervous, as always happens with when we know that the tests are coming. But I also feel like there's incredible support with, in the directions that I'm moving personally, and the intentions that I'm setting, and the declarations that I'm making. And it's all to do with essentially standing in my power and not wavering from that. So I think that's something that, on a more global scale, humanity is continuing to be tested to see how much we all want to stand in our power, and how well that's going to go for each of us is going to be a very individual experience. So it could be scary, but it could be the best possible time, I think, as well.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about, and all I have to say, by the way, with what you said at the beginning was, I am soul. that, I think you wrapped it up for everybody. It's a microcosm, as the individual goes, so goes the collective, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know, how do I say this? It feels very much on the human in the most complete sense. The body, the physical, the mental, emotional, yes, those parts of the human that we've known or weren't encouraged to talk. Because the ones that brought us together, the qualities that brought us together, are the things that were suppressed. But I don't know. I mean, do you feel like that? And I guess from a soul perspective, we know it's great because there is no losing. It's an opportunity to, like you said, and I think that's a great way to put it, at very human terms and soul term, because that's why we're doing it, to see how far you'll go in faith in regard to your own power and potential.
Yeah. And it's funny when we're talking about more on that global scale and the energies that are kind of coming up. I'm finding more and more because it's something that I think we have been dealing with for the last several years, but it's almost like it's coming more into focus here. Is that there's this movement to really for us as an individual to step into that power, to have a greater understanding of what we believe in, who we are, and all that is. And then there's this acceptance piece. And it's an acceptance of not only our own acceptance for ourselves, also the acceptance of others, and where we're at in this whole judgment space. And what I'm finding is, like, especially because we have so much social media in all of our lives, we're being tested constantly because social media is so fast. It's very reactionary. So we're going into emotional reaction, which is a lot of judgment. And that is suppressing, I believe, it's suppressing that natural ability that we want to be moving into of connecting to the soul, connecting to those greater aspects of ourselves, connecting to the compassion, to our happiness, and ultimately our inner authority, our inner power, our inner strength, when we're always going into this judgment reaction. And so I think this is one of the big tests that we're going to be seeing over and over and over again until we finally figure this out. So that's something that I really, I think is going to be coming up a lot this year for me to talk about. I don't know if that'll be for others as well, but it's becoming very clear to me. And I know it was clear before to many others, but it feels like an action item to me now.
Yeah.
That this is important because we're seeing so much where it's like, I was thinking about this earlier. It's like if we have a fruit, let's say we have a dragon fruit, and the dragon fruit is being said to be the best thing ever for us right now, right? This is the thing that everybody needs to like and agree with and eat, and maybe grow. But then you have people who don't like dragon fruit, or it's not good for them. It doesn't work for their body. And so there's this interesting dynamic where you have this ability to be able to share yourself freely. I don't like the dragon fruit. I don't want to eat the dragon fruit. Or I have a belief that the dragon fruit isn't as good as what everybody says it is, regardless if that's right or wrong. And then you have, at the same time, a suppression, because then you have everybody else jumping on board saying, you don't know anything, go do your research. And so it's always this very complex dynamic that is moving us further away from compassion, further away from our heart center, further away from the connection with the divine, further away from ultimately just being in our spiritual world. Because as soon as we go into this polarity and this judgment sort of thinking, this reactionary thinking, polarities, we're moving out of that spiritual house. And we need that space. We need to be in the spiritual and have that time, whatever that spiritual is for each person, which that could be a walk in the park, it could be going to church, it could be a lot of different things. It can look a lot of different ways. But if we don't fill that spiritual house with something that is of spirit, of the divine, we're going to fill it with something else. And I think that's why we're seeing so much, more and more all the time, the universe is showing humanity how far away some have strayed. And we're filling our spiritual house with something other than spirit.
Yeah. And ultimately, I love what you're saying. There's three things I can think of. One, how did you say at the beginning? How far are you willing to go, so to speak, in faith of your own power, or in power and essence and being? The I am soul. The I am that. I am the I am. Second part is, when you think about it, it's one thing to look at polarity and say, in a sense, dark and light are the same thing. If you're coming from a realm that's been in, let's say, organic polarity, and there hasn't been the distortion of duality, then that's, going to be less of a challenge. But we're coming out of something that's deeply embedded. The basic propaganda move, if you want to use that word, it doesn't matter the subject. It's just about getting two people to stand on one side or the other, or opposite sides of each other on an issue, right? So let me sum it up. I love what you're saying, because for each individual, they know the right thing to do. And if they want to have a passion fruit and they know their body, my body's been calling for some weird stuff lately. My body made me take a bath today. You know what I mean? I mean, in Epsom salts. And I don't do all that light worker stuff. But but that might not be good for somebody else. And I think that is a great representation of embodiment to the nth degree, even what we eat, ingest, inhale, whatever, right? But again, to sum it up, I like what you're saying, because it takes me to a place of, I can take all of the debate out of what we should and shouldn't do, and I can find a common ground through your words, which is real simple. If we truly believe in our potential as individuals and as a whole to reach 5D, that is a place of no judgment, which means it's pure compassion. And I think that's the challenge that we have, because we seem to have these things that we just won't let go of. Well, I can't let go of that with my mother, or I can't let go of that with the government. So I think that doing it on the local level, I think a lot of people have made progress, significant progress, and I'm sure that's permeated into the energetic field, and that's working in our favor. But I think it's going to be the real nasty stuff on the collective, or you say the global level, that comes to light, because it's coming, whether it's been impeded or not. And I'm talking about the nasty stuff, right? That's where we're going to be challenged, I think, at the end of the day, in terms of going into that pure compassion state and really embodying by saying, okay, I might be in a human body and understand we had this simulation or hologram, but I am a soul. So I will carry that frequency with me, and we'll get this shit worked out once and for all. That's kind of my take on your words. Thank you.
Yeah, and just a little continuation on that. It's we're moving. How do I want to phrase this? We have an opportunity to look at our challenges and this is personal level, this is global, collective, however many levels you want to go to here, right? So whatever I say, remember I'm speaking as big or as small as you want to take it. But I'm reminded of the ancient Tibetan bone people who believe there are at least 9 ways of looking at something. And I think, you know, we're so conditioned to look at black and white, ones and zeros. Everything is that there's 2 options, you know, and there's some gray areas, but people don't really like the gray areas. They'd really rather go to the concrete black or white option. But that when we are able to expand our mind and come at an issue, a difficulty, something that is challenging us, we can look at that and see that there are at least 9 ways to perceive this. 9 different angles at minimum to take in this information, to work with this challenge, whatever that is. So you can apply this. We can apply this to exactly what you're talking about, to the let's call it severe challenge that humanity is facing, in whatever ways that might present itself, whatever those energies are, that there are 9 ways to look at that, at least.
Yeah.
So I would love to remind people of that, to not get too fixated on something is bad and evil and we can't have that, but rather say, okay, that's very likely, but there's always a positive intent, and there's always something bigger. There's always a bigger picture, and when you think you've reached a bigger picture, we need to think bigger than that.
We don't really have a choice. That's how the soul's journey is.
Right. Absolutely. But it's so easy to get fixated and then not move with the options.
Right. It's a interesting connectivity. Matthias De Stefano, on his series Initiation, which is one of the few things I've watched, one of the very few things I would even recommend to people to watch, that's on, let's say, more of a mainstream basis. But he talks about the different dimensions, and I know people have a lot of different interpretations. But what he says about the 9th dimensional field or perception is that it is the point where you literally can simultaneously stand in all shoes at one time. So every perspective, and whether it's 9 or 99 billion zillion, you still have the same quality. And I've always felt that, I've never really pushed it or talked about it, but I don't really feel that by the definitions that we use, and I know we struggle, that we're just going into 5D. I really feel like this is more of a I often look at it like a fishbowl upside down in the corner of the multiverse that has a whole different set of rules. And there's a lid on the top that's been locked down, and it's being opened. And as we get projected out into what looks like the ocean, but let's say the plasma dimension, we're going to be able to go anywhere. And I think part of what you were talking about is the description above, below, below, above of certain people, if not everybody, I don't know how it works, pulling down that the perfection of that 9th dimensional perspective, vision.
Love it.
Yeah. It sounds so, it's hard not to sound cliche and simple, almost smug, right? Because you see some of that over the years. But it really is simple, profound truths. And I think where we're at now, and I've said this quite a bit, but other people do in their own way, which is it's time to walk the talk. And that doesn't mean like, if you don't walk the talk, you're going to lose the game. No, it just means that you're going to lose the potential that you have afforded yourself to.
to keep moving forward. You know, I ride horses, and one of the things that's fundamental to riding horses is that they must go forward. And that's so the same with humans. We must keep walking forward. Not, you don't want to get into oh, I don't know about that, I'm going to back up. I'm going to retreat. I'm going to jump sideways. Get caught in a little circle over here. No, we have to keep steady on. And we can pause and maybe take a break and look around a bit. You know, get our bearings maybe. But the momentum has to continue forward.
It always has. Really.
Otherwise, you're going against nature.
Well, you're fighting yourself, which is what we do, what we've done.
Yep.
You can't impede me. You know what I mean? I mean, I think what fascinates me probably more than anything, and I guess you could say if I was sticking around for any reason, what is that reason? It's because I really believe that we're in a field of potential. If it's not already here, it's quickly coming through our deliberate expansions, that we'll be able to do things while we are in the physical body. That there's an element of this fusion of the physical and the non-physical through this ascension, or whatever you want to call it, that is going to be as above below. That's literally going to take on a literal aspect. I don't know if we're all light bodies. I don't know what. And I don't know if I'm accurate in that example, but I feel like maybe if not in that example, but in other ways where truly I can be sitting in the room with you, and if I'm not in my body, I'm certainly there, and you know I'm there, and there's no, oh, I think the light just turned on and Todd's here. No, it's like me tapping you on the shoulder and say, hey, what are you cooking for dinner?
You know, that's a very interesting topic, because none of us really can say for sure what living in a fifth dimensional reality would mean to us in a physical life form. I think it's more like we're living physical, living physically, but we are so connected to our heart space that, and I've always said, to have access to the heart is to have access to the soul. And we are carrying this vibration, this higher vibration, that we can, maybe we're manifesting physically a lot more easily, a lot faster. I don't know about teleportation and such, but I think that is definitely on its way. I think I heard scientists are doing it with small things anyway. I don't think they've gotten to animals yet, though. But I seem to remember Billy Carson talking about that they are actually doing that. And but I think that the 5D reality is a mindset, and it's a way of it's you know, like I think it's less about physical and more about just how are we actually living our lives, how are we actually interacting with one another, how much intention, and that by intention I mean focused, our soul focused energy embodied in this avatar beautiful life form that we are, and then walking across the earth as a divine expression, rather than something that has been shielded and sheltered and belittled and berated and made smaller and smaller and smaller. We're then moving into a space of being bigger and bigger and bigger, and not from that egoic sense, but from just simple truth of who and what we are.
Yeah.
From that high space.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, maybe it's nothing more than much more than What if it's just that pure telepathy is, let's just say, between now and the end of the next couple of years or something, slowly comes into full force where everybody knows that it is full force. There is no gaslighting anymore. There's no anything, right? And because of that, there is no deception. There is no ulterior motives. And to your point, or really another way to say it is, we're all coming 100% from the heart. And then as a result of that, there is a energetic, spike in evolution, tech, et cetera, that's a result of not having that antagonist energy or depleting energy blocking our way.
It's interesting that you bring up sort of that technology aspect of it as well, since we're into this Aquarian age, which is very technological. We know that technology is going to be playing a big part in this age for the next 2,000 years. It's going to be a part of human life. So the interesting thing with technology is, of course, that it has this electromagnetic field that can be a little bit hard on us, right? And so I think part of moving into more of this fifth dimensional state of being, another way of thinking about it, it's just a state of being, is that instead of, I'm a sensitive person, I feel the technology, I feel that it mucks with me, I don't like it. But instead of me going into that space of, I don't like that, it doesn't feel good,
right,
I can move into, I feel that, I am a master of my own energy. How can I use this energy to my benefit?
Yeah.
So how can we get to a space where we are so masterful that we're turning that around, turning the negative into a positive?
Right. Well, I don't think
turning the challenge into benefit.
I don't think it's any different than what you were talking about. The only difference is that when we normally think of something like this, it has people involved and emotions and drama. And so I don't really think it's any different. I think if you were actually, what you're doing basically is you're collaborating with that tech, not by traditional sense where I'm doing the phone, but you're actually going, okay, I don't like you, but I recognize you, and you're not an inanimate force, and we're going to live together evidently and evolve together because that's what the Creator says we need to do. But I think it works the same way, because I think if you look back, especially at the last year, I haven't taken a poll or anything, but from what I've seen and experienced in my own life, and just from people I know and what you see in social media on these platforms, people are less on a trajectory of putting walls up, although we may have had them up in order to set boundaries and get our own personal game of being present on. But I think there's a trajectory now of one way or the other, be it etheric connection, or go in and have a talk and tell it like it is, or whatever, but people kind of bringing what you're speaking of into that specific relationship in their life, and ultimately more so in their life, and then that's their contribution to the new grid, is this balance. So that's why, again, I go back to what we were talking about earlier, because to me it's very analogous and comparable. It's kind of like if we look at the churches and the governments and the this and that as family, we're already going through a dry run with the closest circles to us and working this out and bringing it into equilibrium and bringing in pure compassion without judgment, because that's really it. So again, I go back to, I think we're going to actually have I think working it out in our closest circles with family and friends and etc. is a great practice run, because I think it'll be more challenging to handle the collective issues, because there's so much nationalism and political affiliation and religious zealotry and so on and so on.
Yes, and a big part of that, I believe, is moving into a space where we're okay to let go. That we don't need to feel like we're holding on to something or to someone who doesn't align with our being anymore or at this time. That we might need some space, or they might need some space, or to simply be in a state of understanding and acceptance of the cycle of life,
Right.
of the coming and going of beings,
Right.
because there is so much suffering around how much we want to hold on to things.
Yeah. And that whole resistance thing, like sometimes I have this exercise. It's going to sound stupid, but I'll have this exercise, and I'll get to the life review, and they'll be like, okay, now you're going to go do another life with so-and-so, 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 and so. And I'm like, what? And the gods are laughing, going, well, until you get it right. So we can't divorce ourselves from anything. And so if we're truly going to walk the talk and embody and not just throw words at it, we got to do it. And that's really where our opportunity is. It's I'm like everybody else. I've got family antagonists, and they probably feel the same way about me, and this and that. And of course, I'm the rainbow child, black sheep, whatever you want, golden child, whatever you want to call it. But I've got some that let's say, had a visit, and some that I haven't, that have ended up at the same place that I'm comfortable and content with. So, like you said about the 9 perspectives, Morgan says there's many ways up a mountain.
Yeah.
They all get to the same place.
Yeah. Beautiful. I have also in my own family, the challenging dynamics, and for me the practice is how can I just forgive and love the situation. It's a little bit of Yeshua's teaching, right? Forgive and love.
Yeah.
I think I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that there are times when we can look to great masters, and they're incredible wisdoms, and they play a big role in this ascension process. I just watched the other night a documentary on the Dalai Lama, and I'm not Buddhist, but his teaching is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of powerful, wonderful messages in those teachings.
Yeah.
And that'll be the same for all the major religions and all the sectors. And there's always something out there that we can learn and try to work into our view, and hopefully multiple viewpoints of the world and our being.
Well, that's the thing about the truth. I remember when I first started this thing, in the early days, I wrote a lot about what you're saying, which was, I would say, like, there's a common thread in all of these things. And the golden rule is the perfect example. And I've had people challenge me on this. I didn't think of it, and I didn't find it. I just came across it. And they're like, no, they don't have the golden rule in Buddhism or, Confucianism. And yeah, they do. If you go look, every one of them have it. So there is this common thread that always comes through, and I think that's the part that, we see it in a religion that's been politicized and, whatever. We have the ability to see it. That's our soul's eyes. But in the interactions of these human incarnations, particularly this summary life that we're in, where everything is amped up to the, 1,000th power, it's a little more difficult to see that thread in other people. or institutions or whatever the case is. But I think, I love to have conversations where it's brought to the human level, regardless of our skills and abilities and so on. And I see this as a real simple way to look at it. It's there. That's why when people say AI, I always say, well, we're all AI. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if you had a one and the one then produced something that was physically separates you, you might say, there's an argument you could say that's, you know what I mean? It's a copy and paste.
Yep. Yep. There's something to say about that for sure.
But I like what you said,
So,
because that's really the way I do it, and I have for like since 20, particularly with like dark stuff. But then it's with anything, you can do it with your coffee cup. Uh, it's moving, just like I'm moving. I'm not solid, and we can connect.
that's right. Yeah, and I feel like I keep trying to bring this to bring real world into this, because I feel I'm personally working on bringing loftiness into more 3D reality. I'm working on that because I find it very easy to go up. so so forgive me if I keep sort of like, because that's what I'm working on, bringing it down a bit. But at the same time, I also feel like there's an importance of being able to start at the ground and work your way up. And because we are having to navigate a very real, in a lot of ways, this world is very real to us. It's so convincingly real. And we have a house that we need to take care of and live in, and jobs and pay bills, and very basic you know life things that need tending to, inclusive of relationships and families and so on. And when we can get a handle on what maybe all of that is, and understand how the energies are playing out on this level, I think from then you can start climbing that ladder. Because if we try to just zip up to the top of the ladder, up to say 5D, and we've missed all those rungs, we haven't brought the 3D essentially with us. Because in order to be in 5D, I feel we need to have a good understanding of what's going on here,
Yeah.
in the lowly 3D level.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, like you got to walk every step on the soul highway. Like you can't take with you. Like if the, let's say the 3D Earth experience is a scale of 1 to 100, and the rungs of the ladder, and you go to 77th degree, just because you went, hey, I went to Earth, that doesn't mean you get that's in your pedigree, that top 23% that you stubbed. And again, there's no losing. I think this is part of whatever's going on. I mean, there's so many weird, frequent fluctuations and flares and this and that and this and that. But there's something. I mean, on the level of, the axes are going to, flip, or whatever metaphor you want to use. A comet's going to hit the ocean, and we're going to have another Atlantis event, and and then of course the revelations and the memories. Maybe when we get to a higher level of awareness and our soul's eyes become the prominent part of our vision, we're going to say, oh, Atlantis wasn't a big horror story. Atlantis wasn't what we, how far does the propaganda go? Whose history, you know what I mean? There's just, and so again, going back to what you said at the beginning was so eloquently and concisely. It's like, how far am I willing, you could even say it in layman's terms, like as a soul, how much am I willing to invest in myself? Well, I can tell you this, anyone that came down here invested the whole reservation, and the payoff is probably double just from the fact that you decided to come down here. Anything beyond that's gravy, but there's a lot of gravy out there.
Well, that would be nice if it worked out that way.
Well, from a soul perspective is what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I had a download about 10 days ago. Whatever you want to call that, where I was having this dialogue, and it was me and me, but it was also a few other aspects, and I was like, okay, now wait a minute, why are the Galactics here and what's happening? Because I've always seen them as facilitators. And then it was explained to me, like the closest facilitators, like the elementals, the Galactics, maybe the angelics. But it was explained to me that no. These are all just soul. These are all souls. They're all in the narrative in your neck of the woods, and that the species of the soul's incarnation, so to speak, and be it the wind, be it the Arcturans or elemental or Todd or whatever, that those are the players in the simulation. That's the story. They're all part of the story. It doesn't matter if they're in a different dimension or appear to be a higher intelligence or they're invisible or whatever. It was interesting. I'm not saying it's gospel, but it helped me to go from why are the Galactics always popping around to understand, and saying and rationalizing that they are the facilitators, or those aspects of us are the closest to us, and they therefore facilitate us. But that just made it a little bit easier. It kind of negated the fuckery a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally. No, that's I completely understand and align to that download as well. And so you have all these other beings, and some of them are here to muck around.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them are here to help sort it out. And
That's
then
right.
you have everything in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine.
And so if you can
No, go
remove
ahead.
yourself, if you can remove yourself and the emotional response to what all that means, if you can remove yourself and observe from the higher perspective, from the soul, but
Right.
also from all the levels, like observe it from being the lowly human and what that means to you in this life, and then work your way up. Or you might find it easier to start high and work your way down, like I do. I find it easier to jump up and sort of say, okay.
There's a bunch of y'all out there that
Like,
came that direction.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's
But
the bigger picture here?
Y'all are having to bring it down. Some people, it's vice versa. Y'all are bringing it down. Some people are taking it up.
Yeah.
If I look at Morgan and I are a perfect example. She's very galactic like you, and I'm very organic and earthy, right? And that's where my experiences were rooted, and vice versa. But above all else, and I really, really resonate with what you're talking about, because what you're saying is, okay, let me put it a different way. Okay, I got it. One thing about being in these communities, and certainly we have certain characteristics that society, any group of 100 people are going to have this percentage of that, right? But we're talking about people who are actively questioning themselves in terms of their integrity more and more often, and the results are beginning to show up much quicker in our lives, and they have a real physical, material aspect to it. So we're going, oh wow, this does work, So that's an interesting part of this evolution. To think that the most dynamic, let's just say it's instant manifestation, as would be in 5D. I need a light bulb, here it is, boom. But that it's directly tied, and it's all predicated on the most, what would seem to be the most mundane part of our multidimensionality. The human being going, I'm going to have integrity from this point forward. And yet it has this, across all timelines and dimensions, in all aspects of your existence, this powerful, this powerful swing, an ascending, curve of its own.
I mean, I love that you're bringing up integrity, and I love that you're seeing that that you're seeing more of it in the community. That's absolutely wonderful to hear, because that's something that I think has been lacking in the past, and so it's really good that you're seeing that. And it's super important, as you're saying, if you do want to be moving into 5D, you absolutely have to be in integrity. You have to be in alignment with your heart, which means that you're in integrity.
Yeah.
And it also means that your energy is coherent. And it also means that you're able to carry more energy within and around your being. And in order to manifest, as you're speaking of, which I need the light bulb, and boom, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
In order to manifest physical takes a massive amount of energy. I don't know how many people watching this have actually had the experience of manifesting something physical in their hand in a meditation. One of my teachers has, but this was for her in a very large group, and they had to build up a lot of energy to do it. So I got to hear the story of how all that happened, and she said it takes a lot. So to me, that means that if that's what we're truly going for, if that's what a person is going for, then we need to look at some of the past masters who are able to sit in a cave and make the handprint on the wall. Look at some of the masters who are able to change water into wine. Look at some of the people who have had those experiences and are actively working with those experiences. And if we want to be doing something, they always say, you don't surround yourself with the people who aren't doing it. Surround yourself with the people who are doing it.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't know who those people are.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I've never experienced anything like that. Now, I have friends that are practitioners that have levitated people in the middle of a session. They start levitating. I've levitated, but I don't know that I did it. I mean, I guess ultimately it's all one, but it was just me like in bed one night, and there was big energies. I don't remember what happened exactly, but I could feel it. And it was an extraordinary download or whatever the experience was. But I think that, like everything, if you look at what we call mentally ill people, the large number of those, I think a strong case could be made for those that know them very well. They've got a vision into the other side, and their handicap is trying to function when they have all this stuff that they're told is not real. It's real. But if you just took that as an example and just say that, through our heart expansion, we started to see them as the souls they are and what they actually had to offer in this physical experience, because that energy is then unleashed, and allowed to go out there and get jiggy, that it would then be more readily available, and other people will start picking up on what these people are picking up on. I look at this comment by Beatrice. And it says, not being able to express who you. Not being afraid to express who you truly are. What the hell does that say? We are beautiful as we're taking out the ego mask at old society. Something are free to express it. So to me, this is one of the cool things that's happening now, and about what you're talking about, what we're talking about, because there's so many books and lectures and platforms and shows but the integrity thing is a pretty simple way to look at it. And then this thing about being yourself, because what is that? That is pure transparency with no, like the emperor with no clothes, but kind of in a positive backwards way. Like we are so much more than we thought, and the more we are ourselves, no matter what that looks like, and the more we practice that, the more we become comfortable in our human skin. And for the soul's embodiment, that is another way for me anyway to kind of look at it and explain it to myself. But
yeah, to get to the point where we're so heart-centered and in our integrity that there's no fear. There just is no fear to be who and what you are, because you're so standing in your power and your authority that the thought of somebody or even yourself questioning you or me is funny. Like that's the space I've had moments. I've not ever as often as I would like. I'd like to just permanently be there. But I get there, and I know what it feels like, and it's something that I continue to strive for often, and was part of actually this Lunar New Year sort of resolution and intention setting process was to be even stronger in this space, especially because of what I have coming up and the tests that I have coming. Because I know that if I'm standing in my power, no matter what tests come my way,
you're good.
I'm going to be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, when I go to, like, we all have our own methods and everything, but, just like I'm going about my day, I talk to myself and, we do these different things. And this has been going a long time. And I don't have to do it all the time. It's just when I start to get too entrenched in the threatless threat that this world has upon me, right? I'll say to myself, I'll bring my human forward and be like, look, standing in your power when, 6 cops break the door down and, and that's a true story. Or you have a military people or a SWAT team, or let's say, here, take this procedure, or we're going to hurt your family or you or something. I can do it. I'm good. I'm done. I am soul. Go ahead. But I go to other places. I go to stand face to face with what I see a reptilian as, or an ogre, or a witch, or, because, and it always ends the same way. I go in and it appears, and I know in the physical sense they can take me out in 5 seconds. And that's what I tell them. Oh, I know you can take me out, but I am soul. And either I'm stupid and you're going to lop my head off and I die and I don't even know the difference, or I'm going to come right back and kick your ass. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to come right back and give you a hug and say, I told you so.
There's some truth in that. There's some good truth in that. And the more we can be anchored down like that and be in that fullness of our energy, the less you do get messed with. And I know that people think, oh, the brighter I shine, the more it attracts the darkness. Personally, I mean, personally, I don't see that often as the case. I know there's going to be a lot of people commenting, saying, wait, no, that's what happens. But there is this whole, wherever you're resonating, that's what you're attracting. So you are an attractor field. So if you're a low vibration, you're going to attract the low vibration. If you're vibrating at a higher frequency, then that's more the energy that you're going to be attracting. It doesn't mean to say that you can't attract some trouble, but likely that's because there's something within within your own being, that is trying to come out, that's showing you where you're not vibrating wholly with the rest of you. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that's attracting those events, or those other beings, or those people, or those energies, however you want to sort of look at it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. See what you say
I mean,
to that.
Well, no, I agree. I actually agree totally with your physics, whatever the word is. I totally agree with it, because if you think about it from a soul perspective, we're spiritual inertia. We're in constant motion and let's say there's 5 main aspects, my 5 fingers, even if the human aspect is not conscious of the rest of it, I'm still moving this way. I'm gaining consciousness of my personal integrity, and my human experience is now affecting the other 4 parts of me, and we become in more balance. So we're constantly popping in and out, let's say, of 0 point. So there's a constant balancing and recalibration based on the balance of one side to the other. We could say masculine, feminine, dark and light, whatever you want to say. So I totally agree with this. I feel like that that's our natural progression. And you could look at it another way. We're in a realm, if you look at the last 11,000 years or whatever you want to call it, where the goddess was taken out, the feminine was taken out. Therefore, the incarnated female, through her succession of lives, if that's the case, which is probably most of us, and the man were both handicapped and imprinted by this, we call it patriarch or whatever you want to call it. Well, if you look at it in terms of just 50-50, you had too much dark, so the universal has a perfect order. You could call it, it's always going to come back to center, however you want to say it. There's always a pendulum going back and forth. So you have an influx of light, which is going to be seemingly be resisted by the majority, which is the opposite. But the same would hold true the other way. And I'm sure we've been through a realm where it was too much light. And I know that sounds weird, but if you're looking at it from a non-moralistic view, and you're looking at it from the science of spirit, right? The subjective, right? Yeah, I can be too pious, if you want to put it in human terms. I can spiritually bypass. So I think in terms of your explanation, it is an excellent explanation, because you need it. Well, you need it in order for you to continue. The dark is coming to that person that has 87% light, because it hasn't gotten to know that part of themselves, or it's forgot that part of themselves, or vice versa. So if you're a soul, a tenured soul, let's say, you have a vast, wide berth of experience of dark and light. The more you have, the more expansive your center will be, and maybe at some level or something, when that expansive experience becomes so big, you hold it all within yourself. Maybe that's what it is, or something like that, or maybe that's how the creator is, or whatever. But yeah, I totally agree with it. I think as time goes on, and you're already seeing it, people saying, there's no such thing as good and evil, dark and light are the same thing. But the more the duality evaporates, and we see true polarity for the oneness and the treasure and opportunity and potential of new creations that it is, we're going to have a different perspective on what this realm has, what distortion and illusion this realm has created. We've all created with it, because we faked ourselves out.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, really well put. And it kind of showcases how we go through these various ages, and we're coming out of the Kali Yuga. We're coming out of the darker age, and that pendulum is swinging more to the light. So of course you're having this emergence of people who are all about the light, and they don't want to be about the dark, because humanity and the planet has spent already thousands and thousands and thousands of years mucking around in the quagmire, and so we want to break. We want to do something else.
Oh yeah. And I think we feel it, and I think the energy of our frustration and because I'm doing it in the last 3 weeks, as much as the expansions have been. I've been like, you know what? Something better start happening. I don't mean that in a threatening way, because I know you can take me out because you're bigger than me. But you know what? We busted our ass. And let's at least start to see some visible evidence that we're making serious progress, and we're not going to be or, whatever the situation is. But yeah, I absolutely. But two, if you look at the seasons, let's just say there's no time, but there's seasons. And we can just use the one that we're familiar with. But that 26,000 year cycle would be another example. The rhythm of it, it's there. It's there. I learned something a couple of days ago. I was reading some stuff about the Aztecs, and I didn't know when they refer to the directions and they're doing a ritual. They say north, south, east, west, universe, and underworld. And I went, I like that. I like that. As a human being, I can't speak for outside this world, but for walking the earth, for me to bring into my ritual, if that were the case, I've done it many times, north, south, east, and west. I bring in the four directions. But to bring in universal, now I've done cosmos and Mother Earth, but to bring in, it takes it big. To me, it's bigger. Universal and underworld, to give full acknowledgement to all aspects of the universal and myself, I thought was a really powerful thing, and I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Do you want to? Did we do something last time you were on? Did you connect? I don't remember.
I channeled light language last time.
Oh, okay. I knew there was something. I know it's not. My memory's not that bad yet. I'm working on it every night, trying to rebuild it.
Good for you.
I'm hoping my hair color will come back and some of it will grow back. But yeah, if you want to, anything you want to do before we get out of here is we're perfectly open to. It's really good seeing you again. I just want to reiterate that to get together with you every now and then would be kind of cool, because I think you have a lot to offer, and I'm excited to see what you're going to be doing the rest of the year.
Oh, right on. Well, we're going to be at the Conscious Life Expo this February in LA. So
Neil Gar, that group, Michelle Anderson in that group. Are you gonna be on stage? Are you going to attend, or what? Are you going to participate? Yes. Excellent.
I have a booth, and I also will be offering 2 workshops, or I guess it's technically a workshop and a lecture. So we'll be speaking on Saturday and Sunday.
Far out.
And so this is going to be really fun. And then I'm also going to be in Las Vegas after that, and I'm going to do a workshop at a store there on kind of light language. So
Viva Las Vegas. Viva. That's a dense place, man. God. We drove through there a couple of years ago. I got sick. I was doing some kind of grid work. Morgan just was like, I'm going to go see the town. I'm like, I got to go throw up. It was crazy. Yeah, but, and again, back to the subject matter at hand, no matter where you are, and a lot of us can attest to this, on the darkest nights of the dark night of the soul, there is light. And by the same token, it works the other way around, so it's a powerful, I will say this, it's a powerful quadrant of this continent, that whole 4 corners, those states, and that's just a powerful area. There's all kinds of intersections of physical and non-physical, and who knows what, probably multiversal highways. But yeah, anything you'd like to do, we'd be honored if you want to, and if you don't, that's okay too.
Oh no, I always love channeling, so I'm always up for it. Did you have a topic that you'd like me to focus on?
Oh, we get a choice. Why don't we focus on, I want to say, and there's a reason, in alignment with my partner, okay, so communing at a greater level, or with our multidimensional aspects, particularly our future human self. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. It's complex. Okay. So we're sort of simplifying that. Raya sai tayo takamataya tanano sa light yat kamasate. Takapatay sa takapatay kanot kapatay no kapatsatia. Shonanda kapatay nanong patay sa tololo takapatayam. Sorry for the banging on the door, that's UPS. Rana takapatayasi. Shona takapasano takana to. Hosachiana. Shalat kana takapataya se tamas sai shalat kono mantia. Wamataya. Wamataya. So it's this idea that we move once again into the aspect of the heart and the multidimensionality of the heart. For as you connect in with the multidimensional aspects of the heart center, you can have greater potential to connect in with the multidimensional aspects of all of your higher aspects, inclusive of your future human self. Lana takia takanot kapantagia sachkanat kapatai, lano takapatai, shutiyo toyo toyo toyo. Sumataya tanataya satyana kamataya takana takapata. Monataya sachitaya kanoto sapa. So rather than offering a channeling that is informationally based, what they're wanting to offer us is a channeling which is healing based with light language. So with light language, you can typically work with one or the other.
Right.
Of course.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So so we're creating this, what's it called? It's like, picture a tunnel of light between your future human self, your soul, your higher self, and it can even go as high as the monad. Okay, so you can connect this channel of light to as many aspects of yourself, so it can be infinite. I want to allow this to be infinite. Manat Sayachana to Kabataya such Kanat Katarava Sachana to Katarana to Katarako Sapataya Denai such Kabatayat Gomo Sapa. So we're constructing this now. But Kano Sapataya Shot Kamataya to Kamankana to Kabataya to Nat Kapatsi Chiana to Katakoba Satia to Dai Sata. And all these varying channels, these columns of light, connecting in with your heart, which is multidimensional as well, right? So you're getting all these different connection points to the heart center in an extraordinarily sacred way. Makana takabataya sachiana takabatano sa padlo takamataya tamakana soko. Takana sachiana takata kana takabati satakano tapaya to sakamanti. Lana isatia takyo sotabatayano. Patakana sopataya takiano namasa. Banana masai chiona patakanozo. Shona dayat gamosa chiono no. Patria so chikamata yetkantia sa tiota. What takamata yasa tikonomata jana tikopata. Sola damaisa. So all of these aspects of your heart, you can almost imagine a kaleidoscope. All brilliant, fractaled, each one going into infinity. And your consciousness, on whichever level you choose, which can change, we're setting this up so you can change your mind at any time, that you can tune into the direction that you wish to be calling forward. That's why it's important that we can allow ourselves to change our mind, because things change. We only know what we know. We only know what we know in this particular moment of time. And for many of us, this is rather limited because we aren't able to have the great perspective that we would ideally like. And so there's a lot of fear that can come in at this time because of that, because of all the uncertainty, of course. So this energy that we're constructing for everyone who's wanting this today is free from those limiting factors that the fear wants to impose. Okay, so that you can receive as needed that clear channel, that clear download of information, of connectivity to the future, so that you can start living in this more and more in the now, bringing it more into now time. So today we've spoken a lot, of course, about 5D and what it means to be in 5D. And we want to be anchoring in that which we do not know and that which we do not understand. But we want to be allowing and inviting these energies to come forward and move into us more and more and be anchored into the physical body, which is why grounding is super, super important, because you can't move into these higher realms of existence if we can't first anchor to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Lona matai sa chi tarkana sa taya to kapasai nano na matai kiana patakana to kapasa chiana kapataya sadana kapataya tu sapataya ta. So I invite you to breathe now with your heart for a moment. You can imagine breathing in and out through your heart, or you can imagine expanding sideways, like sideways out this way with your inhale, and then as you exhale, a bit of a contraction. That doesn't mean that your heart is contracting, it's just becoming a pump for the energy. So as you inhale, you're expanding, and as you exhale, you're contracting and compressing, perfect compressions of your love. Inhale, expands. Exhale, compresses, contracts your love. Anchoring, you can continue breathing at your own perfect rate. Contracting and anchoring in your divine oneness, true nature, authentic sense, whether that's in the future, whether that's in the past, or whether it's in the now. Maya sochiana kamatagananda kopasachikatkano satellite kopazano tapa. Feel the energy around your whole being becoming smoother, becoming calmer, becoming more coherent. Smooth, calm, coherent. And as this happens, there's an expansiveness. There's an expansiveness in the mind. You might feel it in the crown. But there's also a beautiful grounding as your body receives these connections on more levels. Every cell, molecule, and electron of the body is capable of expanding and receiving these higher frequencies, as well as the greater range of energies that's needed to continue moving forward in this journey, so that there's less disruption when one experiences something of a challenge. When we have the ability to hold the greater range, we might consider light to dark. When we can hold the greater range, we won't be disrupted so much. We'll have an understanding. And then we can bring in our mastery and our conscious choice as to how we want to move with that energy. Is it something that we want to work with? Or is it something that we say, Thank you, but I'm good. And they say, don't forget to have fun.
Thank you. From the A and A man to the Z and Zen. Yeah, that was great. It was good seeing you again. Just keep on
Pleasure
going.
To be here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you get into later in the year. I know you've already got some intel on it, so like so many of us are probably getting too. Like we know what's coming. Our role's coming. We're all going to step up. But yeah, we'll touch base again, and all blessings to you and your family, and keep on doing your thing. Good luck on the thing in February and the other thing that you're going to do in Vegas, and see you when I see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mm-hmm.
All blessings.